You're listening to the Eat 'em Up Pod, your home for Detroit Tigers opinions, discussion, nonsense, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Jordan Hall and Alex Urban.
Welcome to Eat 'em Up. I'm Jordan Hall, joined as always by the Tailgate King of Detroit, Alex. I don't know if you noticed this. This is show number 99. We are one away from hitting triple digits.
What a strange and miraculous journey it's been, Jordan. No, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for, humoring me with an idea of doing a podcast together a couple of years ago. Thank you, listeners, for, making the show what it is. But yeah, it's been great. And 99 is a great episode to talk a lot about what just happened because that was one heck of a trade deadline, Jordan.
It sure was. If you think about it, we kind of picked a fairly eventful time to jump back into this game. 2024 was the wildest of rides. 2025 was, I guess, kind of the reverse of wildest rides, but still was pretty crazy. And then this year's been its own thing. Maybe this year has a little bit of 2024 to it. I don't know. We'll see.
It's got some pizzazz for sure. But for the listeners that don't know, I guess, do you want to, in a nutshell, share the journey from the podcastianos to where we are now?
Yeah, let's do that. So we'll just kind of briefly run through it. So I don't know if you guys remember, if there's any carryover listeners from before, but a fella named Eric Wayne and I did the show for in an amount of years. I don't know how many years. I love Eric. Eric is the best. There was only so long that we could continually do the show after they sucked just year after year after year. You guys might remember those years. Talking about a team like that every week is tough sledding. So eventually life kind of got in the way, called it. But before that, Alex and I had met through, I'd reached out to one of his clients to potentially sponsor the show. A very fortuitous email. I didn't know when I was sending, but very providential. And all of a sudden, I had him on as a guest host at Moot's Pizza and just kind of clicked. And then basically from the time Eric and I, more or less called it quits, you were like, hey, man, what do you think about picking this back up? And I'm like, no, I can't do it. Too many Ronnie Rodriguez baseball games. I can't talk about this crap anymore. Until the spring of, well, it's probably winter of 2024. You're like, what do you think? I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready to be hurt again. And I don't know. I feel like in a lot of ways for me, without feeling the need to be invested in really, really watch and glean and all that kind of stuff to be able to talk coherently with you every Tuesday, I don't know. My interest wanders, and I don't know. I feel like you and obviously the team being less terrible has really kind of reinvigorated my love for baseball and specifically this crazy baseball cats that we love. But yeah, I'm very appreciative of you to pull me back in when could have just called it, but it's been a really fun 3 years and hopefully many more and several more 99s to come.
Amen to all that, Jordan. And I always tell people I started this podcast. Couldn't have been a better time with the ups and downs and just the thrill of 2024. And it's been a lot of fun since. So right back at you and to you listeners. It's been a fun ride. And hopefully we'll have some surprises or something cool for episode 100 next week. But TBD on that front.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any fond memories from a specific show. I don't know, last year's trade deadline show, I feel like was a particularly spicy meatball. I don't know. Email Alex or tweet something at the show account. What are your memories? But until then, Alex, you ready to talk some ball?
Let's talk ball, Jordan.
All right. So as you guys know, it's going to be a Herculean task to break down everything that's happened in the last week because there has been basically a month's worth of news crammed into this last week. So I feel like the last week has kind of been I'm not really a music guy, but I understand that some of the compositions have movements where things start feeling one way, and then the mood of the music changes and whatnot. So I kind of have divvied this up in terms of like various movements throughout, starting with the lead up to the deadline, which to me started on Wednesday with that extra innings loss to Baltimore, where it seemed like we had the game won about 6 times, we had the game lost about 6 times. Torque pulled a homer out of his butt to tie it up like late. So at that point, we sat 6 out in the division, 4.5 out in the wild card, and we were coming into a day off before going to Sacramento. And I think that's kind of when and then Scott Harris kind of confirmed that he started like really evaluating what was going on. So at that point, what did you want to happen?
I thought they should sell. I thought selling was the only move to make at that point. I mean, what a perfect microcosm of the season. You had brilliance from your starting pitcher in Tarik Skubal. I was watching at work with some of my colleagues and just, I was like, man, if this is it for him, no matter what they did at that time, I was like, this is such a beautiful performance. And he goes off on a high note, not literally because he gave up the hit that kind of started that momentum. And then the bullpen just comes in and they can't get those final 6 outs. And I was like, how can any of us look ourselves in the mirror and be like, yeah, this is a team that can really go the distance when even when you have beautiful starting pitching and excellent starting pitching, you know that the bullpen is going to let you down night after night after night. We were texting a little bit. For me, that was just that was the final nail in the coffin in terms of being buyers. Let's put it that way. We're going to talk a little bit about this. I am still anticipating for them to play the games. Obviously, they will. I want them to go for a playoff spot. They're 2.5 games out as they stand this evening. But I thought it would have been foolish to try to, put lipstick on a pig and pretend the team is something that they're not. So I immediately after that loss was like, selling Tarik Skubal, Casey Mize, Gleyber Torres, Finnegan, Jansen was the right move. And it was very deflating for me, but I think it was for you as well. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think you used the right word there. That game was a microcosm for the season. Like, you couldn't have watched that game and think, you know what? I think that team's got, like, the stuff to go the distance in the playoffs. And I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little bit, like, spoiled by success, but I'm not willing to leverage the future to go win a wild card series and, like, maybe flame out in the next round. And that's, I think, best case scenario. There just is no world in which this bullpen allows them to really, really have a good go. Like, I just think that is the case. I don't want that to be the case, but I think it is. So at that point, it kind of like, you got to step back and look at the totality of the situation. Like, do we want a fire sale? Do we want Scotty to kind of thread the needle and move the big assets while trying to, like, circle the wagon? Like, what do you want? And to me, I think, like, saleable assets fire sale was the right play. And I mean, we can get into this, but, like, I think it's debatable on what he did. I feel like there's a couple different ways to look at it. But I will say, by the time Friday night was over, which that one, I stayed up very late to watch that game in Sacramento, there was, like, some palpable optimism back in the team in the ballpark. And it's like, I don't know, maybe Scotty is going to, like, cave. But it's crazy what Max Clark did to that team in basically one game. But anyway, let's move on to the second movement of this play, of this piece, which would be the first shoe dropping, and that was Skubal to the Dodgers on Saturday night. I actually woke up to your text. That was how I found out.
I'm sorry to wake you up.
No, that's... Anyway. So, I mean, not exactly breaking news here, but Skubal to the Dodgers for Zaire Hope, River Ryan, and Brady Smith. What was your initial reaction?
I was refreshing my phone like you couldn't believe. And once I saw that Zaire Hope and another player who was not involved in the deal got scratched, my interest was piqued. but I also didn't anticipate that it was going to happen. Anticipate it was going to happen on Saturday night, even with all the smoke and the players being, scratched from the Dodgers minor league lineup. I just was like, no, Scotty is like a last of the last piece of the deadline day kind of guy. And then it goes through and you see the tweet. And my initial reaction was just sadness, to be honest with you. Like, I was interested in the prospects. I was interested in like the larger piece of it all, but like it hit me like a ton of bricks that like, wow, we just traded away like one of the marquee players, not only on the Tigers, but in all of Major League Baseball. Like a guy that is a poster boy for the sport, and he wears the Old English D. And you traded him away. So, that was kind of it for me. I thought it was the right move, but it was not something that I was celebrating per se. And then after I kind of allowed myself to feel those emotions for a few minutes, I checked on the return. But I was surprised it was that early. I think it was, and we'll get into this, probably the best haul that they could have gotten for a rental. I know that's wildly debated on Tigers Twitter right now.
It certainly is.
But I think the pieces are really intriguing, and I didn't think it was going to be any other team but the Dodgers. But what, in your groggy state after I woke you up, what were your first reactions to this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I feel like I grieved a little bit, I would say maybe after the end of last year, because I would have bet every dime I had that they moved him in the winter meetings. So that was kind of like, after the Seattle game, I was like, we've probably seen him for the last time. And so I guess I had a little pre-emotions that had dripped out, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to sound really, really stupid and contrite, but like, I felt like watching him on, was it Wednesday? Like I was actively trying to be like, all right, like this inning, this is probably the last, like just trying to like really soak it in, really remember it. But yeah, like when we're 75 and telling, grandkids or whatever about like who are the best Tigers that we saw, this is going to be one of the names that comes up. And now he is in the enemy blue. Well, I guess everyone's enemy blue. But instantly your mind goes to like, all right, how'd he do? Because rightly or wrongly, this will be the trade that gets hung around his neck for the rest of his tenure, and honestly, probably the rest of his career. Like you don't have chances to trade Tarik Skubal or not trade him or whatever, not opportunities like this frequently. So let's talk about the package a little bit. The headliner is Zaire Hope. I'm not going to bore you guys too much. You guys have already done so much reading, but slots in as our number 2 prospect, 21-year-old left-handed outfielder. He'll be at Erie, I would assume for the rest of the year, though it's not out of the realm that he could make a Toledo debut this year. But 23 homers and 8 steals. Little bit of a strikeout risk, 106 Ks this year to 45 walks. But he has never posted an OPS season of less than 800, and it seems to me that he's hit for power at every stop. I feel like the big talking point is he is the 4th best outfielding prospect on the Dodgers, which is such a disingenuous argument because that doesn't mean that he is not good. But I feel like we must address that. Did that bother you?
My first reaction to the return was that it was light. I'm not going to lie, Jordan. I don't think that Scott Harris got fleeced. I don't think that the Tigers did terrible in this move, but I don't think that it stung the Dodgers at all. Like, I think they were very happy to give this package away for Tarik Skubal. Do I think Scott Harris could have gotten more? Maybe, perhaps. Like, I was a big Mike Sirota guy, who's one of their other outfielders who's a little more highly rated. But at the same time, like, I'm not in the room. I'm not listening to those phone calls. So I can't say definitively one way or the other if they could have gotten the deal. But as I've had a few days to reflect on it, and maybe this is, revisionist history and we're all trying to tell ourselves a story, I actually like this quite a bit. And I've done some research mainly on Zaire Hope. And I like this kid a lot. I mean, he's got power on power to all fields. Everything that you read about him, he's built like a running back, and he really is. But he's not built like a Jahmyr Gibbs. He's built like a David Montgomery. This kid is thick, Jordan. He's incredibly muscular, but he's fast too. He's got great speed. He's a good defender in the outfield. He can absolutely mash. And I was listening to Locked On Tigers, another great show. Scott Bentley was saying there is, the strikeout risk, primarily in the top and the bottom of the zone, but it's been a little bit made out bigger than it actually is because he's been league average at every stop. He's not like a Riley Green level strikeout artist or a Spencer Torkelson. Like, yeah, he's going to strike out probably more than you'd like, but it's going to be hovering right around league average. And I know the minors are different than the majors, but I think this is a kid that you can pencil in probably as your starting right fielder as early as mid 2027, definitely 2028. And he's got all-star potential. And what does this lineup need? Not that it's going to be the same by the time he gets up, but we've been asking for more consistent power. I know they've had a lot of power recently, but in the last couple of years, we need more guys that can hit the ball over the fence, and they need more guys that can run it down in the outfield and play good defense. And he is that guy. He's not going to be an extremely high average guy in the majors, despite the numbers looking great this year. But I think there's a lot to be excited about. So after I kind of dug into it a little bit, I thought it was great. And you bring up a great point with him being the fourth-rated Dodgers outfielder. He would be the number one rated outfielder in most systems. The Dodger system is just stacked beyond belief, right? He's the number one rated outfielder in the Detroit system, if you're not counting Max Clark, and he's going to graduate soon. If they would have gotten Zaire Hope from the Milwaukee Brewers, he would be their number one outfield prospect. So don't let that fool you that they have the Dodgers Josue De Paula, who's going to be a superstar and ranked like top 5 in the league, Sirota, and then whoever the other kid is. Like, Zaire Hope is a nice get for a rental. Period. End of story. And then they got the other guys too. But I don't think this is any kind of a throw-in. A lot of people are saying he's fleeced. I completely disagree with that.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that jumped out to me, and obviously we're a little bit tainted based on some of our splits with our guys, but this year at AA, he's hitting 323 against lefties, 911 OPS as a left-handed hitter. I have been an apologist for years of guys filling roles. Like, you don't need to be able to hit both if we can properly fit you into a role like Jahmai Jones last year. But it's really nice to have guys that you can just roll out there every day, and you don't have to worry about playing the splits game. It would be really nice if that continued, and it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot in the way of difference for him, lefty to righty, which is that'll be a welcome change.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have this kid in the system, as excited as I can be after trading a player like Tarik Skubal, but I liked him. I like bringing him here. And Emily Walden, a friend of the show, does a great job with Baseball America. She has interviewed him a number of times and says that he is just a very down-to-earth, humble kid, soft-spoken, extremely hard worker, great attitude. And then you hear, rumblings in the industry that, like, yeah, Josue De Paula would have been like a gold mine if you could have ripped him from the Dodgers, but he's got an attitude issue. We don't know the makeup of a lot of these kids, but I love to hear that this kid is just nose to the grindstone. She, I think, equated him to Kevin McGonigal, and I love to see that, right? Like, we don't need any head cases here. We just need ball players, and I think that's exactly what he is.
Yeah, definitely. And if there's somebody I trust them to scout a player's makeup, it's Emily. The two other players that came over, River Ryan, who is now our number 5 prospect. He is a 27-year-old right-handed pitcher. Spent some good time with the Dodgers in 2024, 1.33 ERA, and 208 batting average against over 4 starts. Missed all of last year with Tommy John, and he's only had 36.1 innings of rehab this year at AAA due to some hammy issues, which he's actually currently still dealing with. But 10.8 strikeout per 9 over his career in the minor leagues, and despite him being old, he only has 233 career innings, so a lot of bullets left in that arm. I think that this is a really interesting one because immediately people saw, 27, like, what are we doing? We're not going to, if he's awesome, we're not going to re-sign him. It doesn't matter. He's going to go somewhere richer than us. We are going to have him for the entirety of his prime. That will be 27 to 32, 33. He'll move on, potentially make big bucks. I am not concerned in the slightest with the age. Doesn't super really matter to me. Sounds like average fastball velo about 96. I don't know. I would be lying if I said that I had done a lot of research on the 2024 Dodgers and have a firm scouting report on the guy, but it seems like the Arsenal, RIP Jim Price, can be anything that we want it to be. I think this is a very impressive piece of clay to give to Chris Fetter to see what happens. And the other thing I saw, it sounded like he started his career trying to be a two-way player, which screams athlete to me. And there is no more impressive thing than athleticism on the mound. So I don't know. There's a lot. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a Scotty guy, but I really liked that this was the guy that they got instead of Emmett Sheehan, which was another name that they had been rumbled for.
There's a lot to like with this kid, and I'm with you, Jordan. The age does not bother me at all. This kid is under team control until 2031. So, yeah, he's an older prospect, but if you can figure out the health, and it's a big if, that's my biggest concern with this kid is the health. He's nasty. I think he can better than Emmett Sheehan. I think he could be a number 2 or number 3 starter in your system. He's got a fastball that can get up to 100, and he is nasty. So I know so much has been made about the age. Old man River, I get it. He's not really a prospect, though. He's been in the system for a while. He had Tommy John, so he's got that out of the way. But, 10.8 Ks over 9 in his career. That's pretty decent. And he has, as you said, does not have a lot of mileage on the arm. So if they can get this kid ironed out a little bit, if they can get him to stay on the mound, I think he's a pitcher that you can really rely on for the next couple of years. Obviously, I could be totally wrong about this, but I was really pleased with that. And I think, too much is being made about the age, not enough about the projection. Because as you mentioned, I think Chris Fetter and the Tigers' pitching development could turn this kid into an absolute demon. And I think some of us might be chuckling that such a big deal was made out of not getting Sheehan and getting River Ryan instead with how good he actually can be. So I can't wait to see this kid on the mound. He is by and far the closest to the major leagues. When he gets off of the injured list, they probably will call him up and slot him right into the rotation. He's on the injured list in Toledo right now, but by and far, no question, he is a major league pitcher when he's healthy.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of one of the underlying things with everything at the deadline is the potential baseball stoppage in 2027. I don't want to spend a lot of time on there, but assuming that we are going to play baseball next year, which obviously is a big assumption, but you go into that with Fromber, Melton, Montero, River Ryan, and Jackson Jobe as your rotation. That's incredibly exciting. Even if the results are uneven, that is going to be an awesome rotation to watch. And there is so much raw talent there. That's going to be incredibly exciting to watch. And that obviously doesn't even include Reese Olson, which we got time to talk about Reese Olson. Maybe he goes to the bullpen. But I do want to mention him because I kind of think the third name in this list reminds me a little bit of a young Reese Olson, at least the profile. Mm-hmm. So Brady Smith is the third guy that came over. He now slots in as number 15 in our system. He's a 21-year-old that'll be at West Michigan, third-round pick in 2023. Just like River Ryan, he missed much of a year with Tommy John. With him, it was 2024. Last year, he had 113 Ks in 74 and a third innings with a 220 batting average. I mean, that's not a mathematician, but that's nearing, what's that, a strikeout and a half an inning? Something like that. I very easily could have pulled the K per 9, didn't, but it's pretty decent. And it sounds like a great changeup, which obviously that's where the easy Reese comparison comes, but I don't know. He's gotten hit around a little bit in the Midwest League this year, but give me a kid that's striking out those kind of guys at high A and see what can come with it. I don't have any sort of issue with a little bit of an inflated ERA. I'm actually very excited about this kid.
Yeah, same for all the reasons that you said, and he's not a throw-in piece at all. I think this is a legitimate prospect. He's slotted in, I believe, in the number 15 overall. He was deeper with the Dodger system, but he's a kid that I think can climb really quickly. Yeah. He's 21-year-old at West Michigan, so you hope he moves a little bit quick. But him and River Ryan and some of the other moves that we're going to get to, Jordan, just spoke to replenishing the system with pitching.
Yes.
And some really projectable pitching that I think has a high floor, but also an extremely high ceiling. And maybe that's, me hope casting for at least the high floor, but I think all of these pitchers have talent. This kid is just a strikeout artist, and if he can kind of stop getting hit around so much, he can definitely stay a starter. But even if not, that is a weapon that they can use in the bullpen in the future. And for him also to have the Tommy John out of the way is really promising. Every pitcher these days are going to have Tommy John, but both him and River Ryan, it's not something that you're going to have to worry about in their time in the Tiger system unless something went drastically wrong. But it's really nice that the minor league system is kind of evened out now. They didn't have much at all in terms of pitching. Yeah. I know they had Ben Jacobs, and he's down there, and this kid Brady Smith is at West Michigan, so they don't have anybody knocking on the door other than River Ryan, who's going to be on the major league club. But it is nice that they are not so hitter heavy right now. And it gives you a little bit of hope for the future that they are not going to have to go out and just buy a bunch of arms, because that is so volatile, as we learned with Framber Valdez and the litany of other names over the years. Jordan Zimmerman, could go on forever. But I like this kid a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited. The Whitecaps come here to South Bend maybe 2 weeks from now. And I am hoping to see both him and Cash Mayfield make a start. Might have to. I haven't been to the ballpark over there in. Actually, I didn't go all last year either. But if the boys are on the bump, I might have to take a trip. All right, so this is what I want to get into at this point. I'm sure you noticed. Honestly, it's still around, but there is a small, but I would say not insignificant chorus on Twitter that still can't understand the logic that not having two of your best pitchers could be beneficial, led by the Huge Show. I'm unfamiliar with his actual name. He's huge.
Bill Simonson.
Sure. There you go. We've both done that show many times. He has been very, very outspoken of, like, we had the best pitcher in the game. We no longer do. How are we better? What do you make of this argument? Like, part of me thinks that it's willful ignorance. Can I say that? Like, it seems maybe a little hard, but it seems that as if this argument is operating a little bit more in how we wish the world was, not how we wish the world is. Like, the money to sign him is not like, he will absolutely be gone in 2 months or now. Like, I see, yeah, it makes this team worse, but I just don't. I don't know. What do you make of this argument?
I understand it because in my heart, I want the team to win. I want them to go for it all the time. I want to see winning baseball. And how many times do we have to say, you've got a shot if you can make it into the playoffs with a rotation led by Tarik Skubal, especially in a short season. I think it would be jeopardizing. Let me back up a little bit. I think if they actually wanted to make a run at this thing and even sneak into the playoffs, realistically, they were going to have to be buyers. And in the seller's market that it was, you were going to have to give up something that made you uncomfortable. I'm talking about Scott Harris specifically. If you think to last year's deadline, the quote was he doesn't want to make moves that are going to haunt them in the future. He probably would have that same sentiment this year with how the team is and not being a first-place club, and you are not going to get better pieces than you did last year if you were buyers. So you're either talking about taking a big swing for a team that was how many games under 500 with the teams in front of you, or you're going to try to just improve and dink and dunk and do the same thing you did last year. And we all saw how that worked out. The moves were actually worse for the team after they made them than before. So while I get it, I want them to win, I want them to get to the playoffs, and I wanted Tarik Skubal to re-sign with the Tigers. That wasn't happening. We all know that he's going to walk at the end of the season. So being where they were now, and we talked last week, it is practical and pragmatic and the best for the organization in the years to come to deal with these guys. I would have been upset if they did hang on to them. I think Zaire Hope is going to be a much better player for you in the long run than the 8 to 10 starts that Tarik Skubal is going to get you for the rest of the year. I think the kid that they got for Casey Mize has a lot of upside, and the same reason for 8 to 10 starts. And realistically, Jordan, with the way the bullpen is right now, if he were to just stand pat, I don't even know if you get in with those two pitchers on a team. And then you're really talking about just letting him walk for the comp pick, which I think we all would have melted down over. I've tried to defend the comp pick in the past, but just speaking plainly, I think they got way better value in the trades that they brought in. So while I understand the sentiment of like you can't just continue to trade away your best players all the time, this is just the nature of the industry. And he was certainly leaving at the end of the year. I don't know, and I don't think they're going to re-sign Mize either. So you're talking about setting yourself up to be really good potentially, or you're going to take kind of a fool's errand and try to run into luck for the rest of the season, which I would put their chances to get in just about the same as before they traded those guys right now, Jordan, just with how the bullpen's looking. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm not going to yell and scream at anybody, and I'm never going to ridicule anybody for wanting to win and being upset about trading away these players, but I emphatically believe it was the right move.
I agree. All right, let's give a letter grade to it, because this is America. We give grades.
You go first.
At the time, I gave it approximately a B. I thought this is good enough. Wasn't the absolute best, wasn't the tops, but it was good enough. As I saw the deadline unfold, I'd maybe move it up to a B+. I don't think there was a massive prospect haul that beat us that like he could have gotten. I think relative to the market, this was doing pretty well. Obviously, time will tell. You never can tell with kids, but I would give it a B+. I think that I don't want to say like franchise altering because clearly they were on the right trajectory, but you just reinforced the future of this team in a way that you just weren't going to otherwise. So yeah, give me a B+.
I think that's pretty spot on. I think on Saturday night I gave it a B-. I still think a general manager like Andrew Friedman, who's the GM of the Dodgers, or a Dave Dombrowski or Theo Epstein probably could have gotten more. I think there are sharks in this industry, and I think there are really big players, and I don't necessarily think Scott Harris has those kind of chops. I think there's certain things that he is really good at, like identifying minor league talent, the analytics side of it. I mean, just look at how healthy the overall organization is under him. I don't think that, like, when it comes to major blockbuster trades, he's got the chops to just hang in there at that moment and be like, no, this isn't good enough. We don't know if the Dodgers called or in those conversations, because I did read that the Tigers called them, which I thought was really interesting. But we don't know if they said, this is our offer, take it, or as the hours go by, we're going to lessen it. We have no idea what was going to happen. So I think they got good value, not great value, and could have a more seasoned general manager, someone that excels at this side of the game, gotten more. Sure, I definitely think you probably could have plucked a little bit more. But at the same time, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's better than the Verlander trade. I think it's better than the Yoenis Cespedes trade when they got Michael Fulmer. I think there's some guys that you can really dream on here. And none of them are just lottery ticket throw-ins. These are all three legitimate prospects. So I gave it a B- at the time, probably coming around to a B here. But I will not raise it to a B+ from there because I feel it's good, not great. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So from there, we kind of settled in from what felt like an eternity from when he left to the deadline when Casey eventually was moved. Kind of felt like Max just breathed new life into this team. The team played don't get me wrong, it was a very, very bad Athletics team in a very, very fun hitters ballpark. But like the team looks reborn, and it was all of a sudden like, I don't know, maybe this team can go on a run. That being said, we obviously threw 0 innings of high leverage ball in those 3 games. Like the cracks that were not exposed in that game. But all of a sudden people were like, oh man, we moved it within 2.5 of the wild card at the deadline. Other moves were happening. Boston added our boy Jake in addition to another catcher. You might have heard
hate it. I hate it, Jordan. I hate that Jake Rogers is a Boston Red Sox.
He's probably going to hate it there. He's not a Boston guy in his soul.
I hope he can be like a sleeper cell. Yeah, spray paint an Old English D on the side of the Green Monster.
Yeah, I mean, he could do other things too. Cleveland added. I actually think they made some interesting moves. Seattle did a little bit of both. Baltimore sold. And we're just sitting there until 6:02. Scotty, we kind of put it at Scotty hit the buzzer beater, but it actually kind of seemed like it was. I'm sure he, beat the deadline or whatever, but when the reports came out, it was actually after 6. Casey Mize and Gage Workman to San Diego for Cash Mayfield and Jackson Wolf. Mayfield is a 21-year-old left-handed pitcher in the Midwest League. Struck out 88 guys in 60 2/3 last year at low A and 62 in 51 1/3 innings this year at high A. Low batting average against guy, kind of a little bit different than Brady Smith, but big frame, fluid athlete. Feel like from everything I've seen, there's kind of no guarantee he is a dude, but there's kind of no reason to think he can't be one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what I said earlier about the Dodgers not necessarily feeling the prospects that they dealt for Skubal, I was spying on the Padres subreddit, and they were, really, for a rental? I mean, Cash Mayfield is their first-round pick from 2024. This kid's got pedigree. He is highly sought of, not a top 100 prospect, but he could climb those rankings soon. And I gave this trade in a vacuum an A. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter that I follow and you follow too that are very vocal Scott Harris haters that were very pleased with this trade as well. So all in all, I think for 8 to 10 starts, they did exceptionally well with Cash Mayfield. I know the other kid, Wolf, is very much a throw-in. Gage Workman is kind of an interesting throw-in for me. Maybe it's just like the 1-for-1 for roster moves, but this kid is just depth at Toledo. So Cash Mayfield is definitely the prize in this one. But it just goes back to they need more pitching in the system, and this is a kid that we should all keep track of because as a lefty and the numbers that he has and the pedigree that he has, he could be a kid that you see in the majors in the future, right? This isn't, I can't even think of the trade, but, some of the people that you get back for really minor moves like Carson Kelly or I don't know who's Robbie Grossman or something like that. Like I could not tell you if my life depended on it, gun to my head, who the Tigers got back in those moves, and they probably never made it to the majors or had any kind of lasting impact. This is a kid that I think, and reading a lot from what the other prospect people said, could move up quickly, just like we said before, but also could have a lasting impression if he gets some tutelage, and the Tiger system has come a long way in that aspect. So Cash Mayfield, great name. Hopefully he's a great player, but definitely not just a fringe prospect at all.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. When I saw the tweet that he was going to San Diego, I'm like, oh, sick, because like the San Diego GM, he's like Trader Dave. He doesn't care. He'll just trade any prospect to anyone for anything. Sure enough, we basically got their best pitching prospect.
He was their number 2 overall.
Yeah, if you'd have said who do we get, I'd have guessed someone far lower on their depth chart based on basically what the rental market was. But yeah, I was very happy with that. I would thought, like, I don't know, I feel like I don't want to give out an A. It sounds like too much of a homer. I'll take an A- on him. But I was very happy with that. So Alex, this brings us to the question: what now?
Win the whole damn thing. I think, how do I've really been kind of dwelling on this the last couple of days, and I just want to see the team play well for the rest of the year. I would love to see a 2024 run, as improbable as I think it is, but I want to see them play good baseball, and I want to see the young guys continue to contribute. I think lost in all of this is Max Clark's debut, which was outstanding. Kevin McGonigal still continues to play exceptionally well. Troy Melton just looks like an ace every time he goes out, and he's, we can dream on that kid. So while I am extremely disappointed with how this season went, I'm more encouraged with the state of the organization as it is now, and not having this cloud looming over our collective heads of the Tarik Skubal saga, and that we can kind of move on now and think about what the next generation of Tigers are going to look like. That's a little philosophical, but that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I feel like as much as it sucks to lose Skubal, it's kind of a relief just to be done with this.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. I mean, basically from the moment, like I said, the moment that Seattle Game 5 ended, the big story has been, like, literally basically every day has been, how long is he going to be here? How well are we going to use him? What's the end game here? It didn't, like you say, it didn't turn out how we wanted. We are not, I don't think, unfortunately, World Series bound, but it is a nice relief, little bit of a moment of clarity now that he's gone, and we can see what it looks like going forward. And honestly, like, he did say what you want about the man, but he saw what he needed to do. He understood the assignment, and he executed, and he refreshed the pipeline in a way that, when Al Avila was faced with a similar situation, he couldn't. Obviously, he didn't have quite the same ammo as Harris with Skubal, but he didn't do that. Dave Dombrowski obviously never put us in a situation like this. He has gotten us to a point where it's a little closer to a reload than a rebuild, and for a small market team like us, like, that is, I think that's our situation. Like, it would be awesome if it weren't, but it kind of is. So, I think he saw that there was a need for high-level starting pitching in the system. He got that at now near term and far term. He needed some explosive offense. He got himself one of the, like, it's pretty undeniable to me that the organization is in a better shape now than it was on, like, Monday morning. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree, Jordan. And I know a lot of people have ill will towards Tarik Skubal, a bad taste in the mouth, and I get it. Like, he has not done himself any favors in the press. A lot of people think, like, him going to the Wings games, the MSU games over the winter was really disingenuous, but I think we saw the writing on the wall the whole way. He's looking for that mega contract. And I'm not mad at him for doing so. He's one of the best pitchers in the game, one of the best pitchers the Tigers ever had. And if the Tigers are not willing to give him what he feels he's worth, like, he's, going to try to go get it somewhere else. And he didn't choose to be traded to the Dodgers, no matter what a lot of people think. And he, went out and gave his best effort every day and every time he went out and pitched. So I'm going to have fond memories of him. I mean, players like Tarik Skubal do not come around super often, especially guys that are homegrown like him, and I think we were lucky to have him. That said, I hope he fails spectacularly with the Dodgers, Jordan. I'm rooting for Casey Mize on the Padres, but I hope the Dodgers crash and burn. And I would be, I don't want to say happy, but I would have no problem if he just completely implodes and his ERA was like 8. Not rooting against the guy, but just, like, it was a little sick to me that the Dodgers of all teams just like this. What an embarrassment of riches that team has, and not like they're abiding by the rules. They're not doing anything wrong, but it is kind of gross to me that they have that much talent on one team. It's like essentially an NL All-Star team.
Yeah, it's very annoying. So all the while, the backdrop of all this, we were actually playing baseball games. I haven't mentioned that in the slightest yet. But we absolutely rocked the Athletics. They suck, but we beat the crap out of them. My big takeaway is playing in Sacramento is very fun. We should do that more often.
We should relocate Comerica Park to Sacramento, apparently, because the boys just look like they were having a ton of fun out there, and they rocked the A's, just like you said. And Jordan, that was the first time in franchise history that the Tigers have swept the season series against the Athletics. So They have had the A's number this season. But 32 run in 3 games is a lot of fun baseball watching. I'll say that much.
Yeah, definitely. Great bulk work from Ty Madden on Friday. Kind of a nice, like, what you expect from Fromber, like, start on Saturday. Just, like, it wasn't amazing, but I think it was like 2 earned over 7. That is what we paid for. It's nice to get one. And then Montero was excellent on Sunday. But let's just jump right to the big story. And honestly, it's crazy. We're like an hour in, and we just are now mentioning him for the first time. Max Clark, what a player. 3 for 4 with a walk and 2 dubs in his debut. Hit his first homer on Saturday, and then 1 for 3 with 2 walks on Sunday. It looks like he's always been a pro. Like, it looks like he's been a big leaguer for 20 years.
I loved his debut, Jordan, and obviously I'm a big debut guy, but the moment did not look too good for him. And I know, Sacramento's AAA stadium is not Yankee Stadium or, some rocking stadium, but he looked like he was prepared. I mean, he didn't swing the bat after 8 pitches that he saw. I mean, I think this kid is going to provide a spark, which is his nickname, that they desperately need. I mean, he's an on-base machine. He's got effortless defense, as you mentioned. He's got the energy. He's got a good attitude. I know a lot of people hate on the aura and the chains and all that, but I think he's going to be a really good player for this club, and he's going to be a really good player for a long time, and his debut was spectacular. Even Dan Clark, who hated on him in spring training for dropping those couple of balls, had some really nice things to say. So I hope that the Tarik Skubal saga does not wash away people's impression of Max Clark, because you could not ask for a better debut than that one.
Yeah, definitely. What I enjoyed, I think, the most was watching. They every time he did something good, they'd flash to the dugout, and it seemed like Verlander was in the middle of like the cheering section every time. Which, I don't know. I feel like you think of Verlander as this living legend, maybe a little bit more of a prickly character over the course of his career, but he was just living for seeing Max go off, which I thought was really cool. Also, that's about the contribution we've gotten from him this year. So that's that. But yeah, I think it was a really good, smart call on Scotty's part to get him up for that series. Their pitching was very bad. Obviously, it's an extreme hitter's park. Like, it was a perfect soft landing for him, and he took it and ran with it. I think there's something to, you and I have long talked about how this team needs a heartbeat, a soul, someone like that is kind of the fire in the belly. And I am even more convinced now that over the course of the next 5 years, that will be Max Clark. And I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. I want to go back to the point of do you think it was purposeful that he got called up for the A's series because of the park and the pitching?
I don't know. I feel like that would be attributing a lot of foresight to Scotty, and I don't know if he's worthy. But in hindsight, it was just I don't know. It was such a easy break into the big leagues without, like you say, having to do your first game against Max Fried in Yankee Stadium. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that's what he did.
I mean, I hope so. There's a lot of people that have a lot of different opinions on this. And the reason I asked Jordan is if Scotty would have waited until August 15th, Max Clark would have kept his rookie eligibility for 2027. And just as a total side comment for you guys, I don't know enough about the CBA and the lockout and all that, and I just don't get into it. I'm assuming that the rules that we're abiding to right now are going to stay in place. So I'm assuming that these dates and eligibility and whatnot is going to remain next year, because it's all we have to go off of right now. Anyway, coming back, if they would have waited until August 15th, he could have kept rookie eligibility for next year and been eligible for the Rookie of the Year award. There are a lot of people who are questioning why now. And also there are some people who are saying they thought it was a little bit of bread and circus move by Scotty, knowing that the Tarik Skubal thing was going to piss a lot of people off. There's also a lot of people that are saying, well, if you are not going to try to maintain his rookie eligibility, what has he been doing in Toledo while we watched James Outman strike out numerous times? So I'm not necessarily asking you the question, because I think you just gave your opinion on it, and I hope that is the reason. But that is a lot of the discourse going on right now, which I find interesting. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I won't lie. When I saw that he was called up, I had that exact same reaction. Like, 2 weeks from now, this makes a lot more sense. I do think, to your James Outman point, he has been, other than McGonigal, he has been very conservative with promoting guys, like just across the board. And it really was until July that Max wasn't until July that Max really like owned AAA. And for you can say what you want about the guy, he has been staunch about he wants to see guys really succeed at a sustained level at each level before he moved them up. And that actually kind of jived with what he saw from Max in Toledo. But yeah, I'm curious about the timing too. I mean, obviously, we'll probably never get an answer, at least not a serious one. But yeah, I found that interesting as well. I think all the discussion was interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll ever know, but the point is that he's here. I don't think he's going to go back down unless he hits a total wall, but they should give him every opportunity to start every night. This is not a platoon player. I think he's going to be your center fielder for the next 10 years, 5-10 years. So good luck, Max Clark. We're thrilled to have you here. And Jordan, going back to your comment about retooling versus rebuilding, if you're talking about a lineup that has Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, Dylan Dingler, Riley Green, and then you start to get up like a Zaire Hope, and you're not even talking about guys that you can trade for or sign as free agents, it changes the makeup of that lineup pretty quick. And that's why I think there's a lot to be excited about, because they do have a lot of guys that have extremely high exit velocities, which isn't everything, but a lot of guys that can hit the ball really hard and have a really good understanding of the strike zone. So I know everybody likes to kind of tease and poke fun at the comment, dominate the strike zone, but at the very least, his first 2 draft picks in McGonigal and Clark seemingly do just that.
We would never make fun of that. That would be crazy. All right, so we're running very long. Maybe let's jump through this last section. I do think that it's worthwhile to take a little stock in the task going forward. So we are recording at 9:24 on Tuesday the 4th, which is before first pitch of the game tonight against Seattle. 50 games left. 5.5 back in the division, probably gone. I'd be surprised if they were able to overcome that. But 2.5 games back in the wild card with 5 teams to jump, though 2 of them also kind of sold at the deadline. It's not inconceivable. It is not like the number we had in 2024. Just saying.
They have mathematically a much better chance than they did in 2024, and they've been playing good ball recently. I mean, I know they did trade two of their best pitchers, if not their 2 best pitchers, but the offense has been playing really well. You've got it here. The offense has been clicking since June 1st, 5th in runs, 2nd in homers, 3rd in slugging. Last week we kind of threw some cold water on that, but if they can have some of these guys step up, if they can have on the pitching side Framber Valdez look like the pitcher that they signed him for, if Troy Melton continue to throw the ball really well, if Montero continue to have a career year, and then Jackson Jobe, they announced tonight, is going to be joining the starting rotation in the San Francisco series. If he comes back and he's a demon, well, that's still a really strong top 4, maxed with an offense that's really hot right now. I mean, the bullpen is the bullpen, but I know they're going to try to mix and match here a little bit. I want them to go for it. I am adamant that if they're going to continue to play these games for the rest of the season, they shouldn't roll over, and they should make every attempt and play like they are, hell-bent on making the playoffs, and that's what I want to see from this team. And I don't think it's inconceivable. Do I think if they get in, are they going to do much and make a lot of noise? No, I don't think so. But even if they got hammered and, turned into mashed potatoes in the wild card round, I would have considered a success to even get there after the trade deadline. I'm not, like I said last week, I don't want to do the tanking thing at this point. Like,
no.
If we were talking about a team that was wire to wire last place, it'd be a different story. But try to finish the season with the best record that you can. Let the chips fall where they may, and give us something to root for. That's all I want. Yeah. And I don't think it's too far-fetched to ask that.
No, definitely. I think there's a world in which these last 50 games are really fun. I really do. Also, see who else is entering the rotation?
Who's that?
Drew Anderson.
Oh, your
Drew
boy,
time,
that's right.
baby.
Yes, Droobles. I can't wait to see it.
I'm very curious to see what this looks like. Obviously, you have Ty Madden, who will probably get some bulk appearances too. So it's not like it's going to be Drew all of a sudden throwing 6 innings every 5th day. And also, I'd assume Flaherty will be back at some point. But
I forgot about him completely.
I'm curious to see what it looks. He has a starter's arsenal. Like, he actually makes more sense as a starter. I'm curious what this looks like. But we've run very long, and we will have many, many weeks to talk about Drew Anderson, starting pitcher, moving forward. So,
episode 100 of the pod, all about Drew Anderson. Jordan, do you have a Tiger King crown to give away this week?
Yeah, and this is gonna be a sappy one. I'm gonna give it to my boy Scotty. He had a no-win task. No matter what he did, people were gonna be pissed. I think he did pretty decent. Which I obviously there's somebody that probably really deserves the crown this week, but he'll get many in his future. Yeah, give me Scotty for kind of pulling all the pieces together. He's largely escaped people destroying him online. I think he's had a pretty good week.
I'd venture to say it's his best trade deadline since he's been here, which I feel like is a little bit of an oxymoron. I think it would have been hard to completely fumble the Tarik Skubal trade. I mean, it definitely could have happened, but like I said earlier, I don't think it was bad.
He could have forgotten to trade him like he did with Eduardo Rodriguez.
That's true. If that would have happened, I would have jumped.
He didn't do that, so
yeah, right. Mine this week, Jordan, goes to Max Clark. Just happy to have him here. So much has been talked about this kid, and I felt like at least for one night or at least for a couple games, he lived up to the billing. I think he's a really exciting player, and it's nice to have two kids that root for each other like Kevin McGonigal and Max Clark do. It's what Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson were supposed to be. Let's put it that way.
I mean, yeah, it was.
Weekly preview time. They have 3 in Seattle, so tonight is a 9:40 first pitch, along with tomorrow. Thursday the 6th is a 4:10 first pitch. San Francisco on Friday is a 10:15 first pitch. Saturday 7:15. Sunday a 4:05 first pitch. Jordan, what is your record prediction for the next 6?
Honestly, the Seattle series is actually a pretty big series. I think Seattle is going to be one of the teams that's right there down the stretch for the wild card. I think it's going to be them, us, and Cleveland. San Francisco's terrible. I'll take 4-2, which I think would be. I think they win both series. Give me 4-2, and I think that would be a really, really big statement. How about you?
5-1. Let's go.
Let's
just get after it. I don't know. This team, it just cracks me up. I mean, after the devastation of giving up a 7-0 lead in the 7th inning to the O's, they go into Sacramento and they look like world beaters. I know the A's are not a good team, but you still have to play the games. And I know that's a Mickey Mouse stadium, but both teams are playing in it, so
yeah.
Like this team just continues to defy what we think is going to happen, and it cracks me up because as I was listening to Locked On Tigers the other day, Scott Bentley was like, whatever I say, this team does the exact opposite of it. That's a terrible impersonation, but it made me think of what we say all the time. In terms of like you think you have this team pegged and they just turn and do the complete opposite. So I think they're going to stay hot, and they're going to make the playoff run a little more interesting than any of us think.
I like it.
So we've basically spent the entire show down on the farm, as you hear, so I agree, skip it this week. Are you ready to get into some listener questions, Jordan?
Let's do it.
All right. Restore the Old English D on Twitter. And I think I've asked you this before, but do you have an opinion either way on the old Tigers Old English D on the jerseys, which is more of the rounded top, or are you pro having them be consistent and matching to the hat?
Call me whimsical, but I don't mind a little difference. I'm not going to say that I really care, but like, I don't know. This is such a long-standing, like, storied franchise. I don't mind having a couple different nods to different eras and all that kind of stuff. How about you?
Oh, I'm. When they made this change and they made the D huge on the hats, what they did go back and change, but it has bothered me immensely for years. Like I just think the rounded top, the old one, looks so much better on the jersey. I don't know. I think the hat D is just a downgrade for what is a beautiful uniform. But I digress. Anyway, his question this week: how do you define winning the trade for the Tigers? Does WAR produced by the return have to approximate or outpace whatever Skubal produces for the next several years? If the return players are merely replacement level but under team control for several years, is that a win? Great question.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just years of team control is a big deal. But I don't necessarily think that it needs to outpace Skubal, because A, it probably won't, and B, we weren't going to have him. You know what I mean? It's not like we're comparing an asset that we would have had to what we have. It's assets that we received for him versus nothing. I would say maybe the three guys out warring Luis Pena might be a win in the trade, because it seems like that is a name we definitely could have gotten.
Infielder from the Brewers system.
Yeah, he seemed pretty hell bent on getting a starting pitcher too, which I see what he was doing there. But I think there's a chance that he could have gotten Luis Pena in that deal. So I would say you need Hope and him to be like semi-relative to each other. But yeah, I think this is a really good and hard question to answer, just because I don't know. I mean, it's not exactly a cut and dry situation. Do you have a coherent answer to this?
I don't know if it's more anecdotal than anything, but I think they just need one of these guys to be a regular in the lineup or the rotation. Like either of the pitchers be a serviceable number 2 through 4, and they need Zaire Hope to be at least a above average starting caliber right fielder. But I say that, Jordan, and I'm kind of catching myself like, do I need these guys? Of course I want them to pan out, but am I going to like gripe that they didn't if, things just don't go super well? I don't think so, because it's not like they traded Tarik Skubal with 2 years of team control and then had some guys flame out, right? Like this was a rental for all intents and purposes, and the return was what you'd get for a rental. And it's, in terms of returns for rental players, it's historic. Like it's one of the bigger hauls, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, that baseball has ever seen. So I think he did pretty well. I'm not going to be crushed if these guys don't turn into superstars, but yeah, I think for me to feel good about it in my heart, they have to be, regular producing players, at least 2 out of the 3, I think.
Yeah, that seems a lot more coherent than what I said. So I'm going to go with that as well.
All right. And I did want to mention that gentleman who submitted the question showed up to a tailgate a couple years ago. Hope to see you again, and hope to see all of you listeners Thursday, March 25th, opening day in the D. You are very welcome. Chad Jarvis on Twitter wants to know, guys, I'm hurting right now, but how far-fetched do you think this idea is to trade Skubal and maybe Mize and re-sign both after the lockout is over? Chad, I think Casey Mize could definitely happen. Just as good a shot as any other pitcher of his caliber. I would bet a uncomfortable amount of money that the Tigers are not ever going to have Tarik Skubal on their team again, unless they get him for a Justin Verlander deal at the end of his career. But yeah, in terms of this next big contract, 0.0%.
Yeah, same, unfortunately.
Andrew on Twitter, how much of a factor do we think the possible lockout next year factored into the trade deadline moves / decisions this year?
It's an interesting question. I would say my initial thought is, and just like you, I'm not an econ guy. I have not really paid attention to it. So far from an expert here, but I don't exactly see the Tigers being a team that is drastically affected by either a cap or a floor. So I really don't know that in terms of our internal decision making that it probably played a whole lot of a role. The one thing that I could potentially see is that perhaps they didn't trade Glaber because they intend to extend him before the winter meetings, which would like grandfather him into the new CBA. That being said, we also have Hao-Yu Lee and Max Anderson. I'm not sure that extending him is a huge priority. But that was the only like direct lockout tie-in I could think of. Do you have anything that comes to your mind?
I've got no clue. Yeah, not my area of expertise, and it's just so frustrating to me that there is like the possibility of no baseball next season. I have not dug into the particulars in terms of what it could all mean. So I will take your thoughts as my own, Jordan.
Fair enough.
And not so much a question, but Jeremy on Twitter, he says, clever move calling up Clark in time to play his first series in the most hitter-friendly park in the history of parks. Well done. So he's riding that same thought train that you are, Jordan.
Yeah, I like it. Jeremy, my dog.
And that is it for listener questions and this episode, Jordan. It has been a great one, number 99. Anything for the good of the order before we sign off tonight?
I don't think so. I just encourage, if you're still worked up after the deadline, just breathe a little bit. Let's breathe in, breathe out, and then go watch Max Clark mash some balls in Seattle tonight. Oh, or I guess, yeah, it'll still be tonight, but it'll probably be game 2 of the series as you're listening to this.
Indeed. I did want to just shout out all of the beat writers and all of the prospect guys and other podcasters. This trade deadline has been emotionally taxing, at least for me, and I think for a lot of other people too. And I actually really look forward to the trade deadline every year. I think it's one of the most exciting times in any sport in terms of trades goes. But like this Tarik Skubal saga and the back and the forth, and did they get value? Did they not? Are they going to extend it? Why did the Tigers, extend him 2 years ago? Why didn't they trade? It just is exhausting to me. And to have people out there that have to cover it all the time, like beat writers on a daily basis, podcasters that do more shows than we do, the prospect guys, Tigers Minor League Report have been all over it and working their butts off. I just wanted to say those guys and women don't go unnoticed, and we appreciate them very much. And we appreciate you guys from listening and sticking with us too. So we're going to have, shows for the rest of the season. The show goes on with or without Tarik Skubal, and we're hoping for a playoff run with you guys. So thanks for sticking with us, and we hope you continue to do so. If you're not already subscribed, please do so from your favorite streaming platform. Go ahead, give us a 5-star review while you're at it. Listener feedback, eatimuppod@gmail.com. Follow along on the socials. We have a lot of fun at eatimuppod across all the platforms. Jordan is at hosted by Jay Hall. I am at aurban91. New episodes every Wednesday. And thank you guys again for listening. On behalf of Jordan Hall, I'm Alex Urban. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.